Welcome to the Sacred Hour. I'm Alicia Hartzell, and I'm so happy that you're here, that you're listening. This podcast is your invitation to give yourself permission to take the time for yourself, to focus on your own healing, your journey. Take time to pause and reflect, and to remember who you were born to be, to remember why you came here at this time in the first place. It is my hope that this podcast will be like coming home, and hopefully like finding your new best friend, somebody that you can be inspired by and learn from. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing about my personal journey from feeling like I was stuck in a nightmare to living my dream, really my journey to becoming a healer. To begin my journey, I'm going to go back 16 years. I had been married for 18 years. We had 3 daughters. They were 2, 11, and 13. My husband became sick with cancer, and he became extremely unstable and volatile. He became violent, and my home was no longer safe to stay in for my daughters and I. It all sort of came to a head in a particular moment where I was threatened, and I was forced to leave in that moment and went to my aunt's house for a brief period of time. And it became rapidly clear that it was not safe to return home. And I literally had a dime in my wallet to my name. I had to make the decision to apply to homeless shelter, one that I had ironically volunteered with through our church. Happily, they immediately accepted us, and we were able to move into a very small 2-bedroom apartment. Throughout this time, I began to discover some truths that really unraveled the foundation of everything I believed that I was standing on. I found out that my husband had been unfaithful to me throughout almost 20 years of time, and that he had been, prior to getting sick, doing some pretty serious drugs, which really explained a lot of his volatile behavior. And to be honest, I was really angry. I was consumed by anger at all of the things that I was discovering. Really, I had been hiding from myself because many of these things were hidden in plain sight. So I found myself really consumed by anger. And I did not want to be an angry mom. And so I began to seek healing in ways that I had never had my eyes open to before. The first thing that I discovered was EFT tapping, and I would walk around our tiny little apartment tapping and talking myself through my anger. And it really worked. I was able to get to a place where I was no longer consumed by anger, and I was moving towards forgiveness. A few months later, it became clear that my husband was near the end of his life, and unfortunately, his behavior had alienated everyone from his life. He had no one to care for him. So I made the difficult decision to take my daughters and move back into our home and care for him for an undetermined amount of time. It was going to be 24-hour round-the-clock care, oxygen tanks, feeding tubes, all of the things. For, according to his doctor, it could be weeks or it could be several months. But I was willing to commit to this out of really honoring my daughters. And so we moved back into our home, brought in all of the hospital equipment, the hospital bed, oxygen tanks, got training from the nurses in how to provide this care. And the night before he was to come home, we got a call from his brother to come down to the hospital because it didn't look like he was going to live through the night. And he passed away and he never made it home. But in that interim of time, there was able to be a deep, deep level of forgiveness. And it really helped me be able to move on. And I believe it was really beneficial for my daughters as well. After he passed away, I continued to uncover and discover more shocking and traumatic things that were coming to light about what was happening during our 20-year marriage. And a lot of this really began to unravel the foundation of everything that I believe to be true. I have often referred to this time as the perfect storm of awakening because it truly caused me to begin to look at my whole entire life, my belief system, and everything I thought to be true. And I reached a point where I needed to remove myself and my daughters from our environment that we had lived in their whole entire lives and to figure out what it was that I believed to be true and to figure out my path forward, my way forward, and how to be the best mom that I could possibly be to these three precious girls who had gone through so much in the past couple of years. So I sold my home that had been the only home my three daughters knew. And we moved to a different state. We moved to Bend, Oregon. And it was just really the perfect environment for everything that we needed. And I found myself to be just hungry for discovering the truth. I would go to the library every week because the internet was not what it was today. This was back in 2010. And the internet just didn't have the availability of every piece of information that you could possibly want like it was today. Podcasts didn't exist. YouTube was barely a thing. And I did not have a lot of money. I was surviving on Social Security survivor benefits. And so sometimes I barely had money to buy a book. And I wanted to read every book that I could find on the topic of spirituality and healing and energy healing and all the different things that were out there that were brand new to me. I felt like a kid in a candy store. So every week I would go to the library. I would go to the 158 Dewey Decimal section of the library. And I probably read just about every single book in that section of the library. Every week I would come home with a stack of books and I just couldn't get enough. When I had seen the success that I had with EFT tapping, my mind was really blown and I wanted more. I wanted to discover more healing modalities. I wanted to discover what was possible, not just with healing our trauma and our experiences and our belief programming, but expanding beyond that, not just healing, not just coping, not just surviving, but actually really thriving and creating a life that I loved, a life that supported my daughters and a life that supported our dreams. And I really understood that our beliefs are what form and inform and create our realities. So I began to look at how can I change the belief programming that was created through years of trauma and physical abuse in my marriage. And I discovered theta healing. I had sought my own healing and gone to a healer that was recommended to me. He was a lovely, amazing healer. And one of the modalities that he practiced was theta healing. So I saved up my money, was $500 to take the beginning level theta healing class. And I was off to the races. I was uncovering and unraveling every belief, everything that I could discover within myself, working with my daughters, and really dove deep into theta healing. I continued taking theta healing classes actually for a few years. But eventually, I began to discover that I wanted more. I was making a lot of progress, but I wanted more. And I wanted more than what I was doing with just the few tools that I had. I wanted something that could go faster. I'm all about let's get in there, do the work, and move on and enjoy our lives. And I wanted something that could go deeper, unwinding those genetic patterns that I began doing when I was working with theta healing. I wanted something that was going to help support my daughters so that they would not have to go through the trials and struggles that I went through in my life that were created ultimately by my own programming. And I began to realize that this work was actually something that I wanted to do for other people, not just myself and my own children, but I could see how much my own life was completely transformed in just a couple of years of doing this basic work for myself. I realized that I wanted to create a foundation of working with other people and helping other people create these same type of transformations in their lives. The tools that I had were great for doing healing work, but I had no idea how to actually work with a client, how to have a session and create that space. So I enrolled in a whole person coaching certification program that was a year long. I did this in 2012. Every month I would go for a weekend to Portland, and I went through this whole ICF certification program for life coaching. Throughout this program, the students would work with each other. We would partner up and practice having coaching sessions. And every single person kept telling me, you're a healer. You know that, right? You're not just a coach, you're a healer. And the amazing leader of the program was telling me the same thing. And I knew this was true, but it was scary to claim that. And so I began working with women in a life coaching capacity. I began seeing clients in person. I rented an office space a few hours a week. And everyone that was coming to me with some sort of trauma that they needed healing. And that's what kept continuously coming up time and time again in all of the sessions that people were coming to me for. So I began to seek out other healing modalities. And I became trained in several other modalities and even certified to teach a couple of them, including theta healing. But I still wanted something faster. I still wanted something deeper. I was frustrated that it would take sometimes a half an hour or an hour to uncover and clear a single belief. And I wanted to go faster. And I was also noticing that one of these modalities was creating a lot of chaos in my life and the people's lives that I was using it with. It was creating a healing crisis. And I knew that that wasn't necessary. I knew that we could heal and transform our lives quickly without creating chaos and without creating a healing crisis. I just knew in my heart that there had to be a better way. Well, around this time, I moved back to Washington State and began to form an idea with my very best friend in the world, Kimberlie Carlson. She's going to be my first guest on the next episode. And she was the one who actually introduced me to theta healing, to EFT, to a lot of these concepts that were mind-blowing for me and mind-opening for me at that time. And we had always collaborated with our ideas. We've been best friends since we were 17 years old, and we really were a huge part of each other's healing journey. We had taken some theta healing and other classes together, and we decided to open an office together and work with clients. So I moved back to Washington State, and we began really looking at the tools that we had and what could we create? How could we do this differently so that it was more effective, so that it was faster, so that it was the thing that we were looking for that we couldn't find. And we began creating our own healing tools. We called them scripts way back then. In 2013, 2014 is when we first began creating these. These actually became the Sacred Light Level 1 certification class. But at the time, we created them to clear beliefs for ourselves and our families and the handfuls of clients that we were working with the core energy patterns such as belief programming, emotions, trauma, things like energetic oath vows and contracts, even working with entities and implants and denser energy patterns. We created a handful of tools that were extremely effective, and we started using them with our clients. And immediately we knew that we were onto something. These tools were going faster and deeper, and they were more effective than anything that we had ever used before. And around the same time, a few months later, I had been working with some energy activation style healing tools. So I was used to working with activation energy. And this is one of the things that I was noticing was creating chaos in my life and the lives of the people that I was using these tools with. So I was a little bit wary about these particular tools, but I was in resonance with the activation style energy. And I went hiking. I took my youngest daughter to Mount Rainier to Ahanakepash, which it's the grove of patriarchs. It is a whole bunch of very ancient, very large trees. So we were hiking there, and all of a sudden I felt that familiar activation style energy coming in to my body. And I heard the words in my mind, wisdom of the trees. I knew immediately that this was, at that time, I called it an activation coming in. I was really drawn to a particular tree, and I sat down with my back to that tree and began to meditate and received this frequency. I sat there for probably 15 minutes, and I recorded myself talking about it and transmitting that energy. And this is what became the very first Sacred Soul alignment. Fast forward a few weeks later, my youngest daughter and I moved from Washington State to Maui. I felt an undeniable call, like I have never felt before in my life, to move to Hawaii, a place I had never been, a place I had never really even thought about going or wanted to go. But all of a sudden, it was a calling that I couldn't say no to. And so we packed up 3 really large suitcases. My youngest daughter, who was 11 years old at that time, and I shipped my car. We moved our sight unseen into a house that I had rented on Craigslist. And as soon as I got there, like literally almost immediately, more alignments came flooding in. I was swimming in the ocean and I felt this energy coming in. And by now I really knew how to recognize it. I knew exactly what was happening. And I heard the words, abundance of the ocean. I just allowed myself to fully receive that frequency and integrate it into every cell of my body. There was one night that I was woken up by light beings, and I could see them in my mind's eye, not with my physical eyes, with my mind's eye. And I was guided to go outside and lay down under the stars and just received this full system upgrade and integration that really became the foundation of the Sacred Soul Alignment modality. And at this time, I was just using these, what I was calling at that time, activations with my clients in private sessions and even in some group healing programs. And then one of my clients started asking me to teach her what I did. She had taken some of my other modality certification classes of modalities that were not of my creation. And she kept telling me, what you're doing, what you've created is just so much more powerful. I want to learn that. I want to be able to use those tools. And I was a little terrified, to be honest. That seemed like such a big endeavor. But she kept asking me and she kept asking me. And so finally, I agreed. And I had received about 50 alignments at this time. And so I told her, okay, I will teach you. As I'm teaching you, I will create the curriculum and then I'll be able to turn it into a class and teach other people. Well, the word got out and everybody, it seemed like, was coming out of the woodwork and wanted to take this modality certification class. So I handpicked 8 people. She and her daughter were one of those people, and 6 other people who I knew very well, who I knew that I could trust, and that I really wanted in the energy of the creation of this modality. And I spent about 3 months teaching them these tools, which I had then come up with the name Sacred Soul Alignment, and I was calling them alignments really to differentiate myself and this modality from other modalities that were using the word activation. So these became alignments, Sacred Soul Alignments, and I put the curriculum together. I had 55 alignments and I had 6 what I call attunements. And these attunements are along the lines of what I received when I was awoken in the middle of the night by those light beings and brought outside and just really received that transmission. That actually became one of the attunements that I pass on to my practitioners. So I now have about 500 alignments, and there are 8 attunements that I give in the modality certification. So this began in 2016 with 8 students, and now 9 years later, I have over 1,000 certified practitioners. Many are practicing Sacred Soul Alignment with clients out there in the world, and many are just using these tools for their own healing and transformation, and the healing and transformation for their families as well. From the moment that I agreed and committed to teaching this as a healing modality to be passed on to other people and to attune other people to the alignment so that they can run those energy packets as well, I knew that this was going to be global. I knew that it was something big. And I have certified practitioners from all over the world, from every continent except for Antarctica. So this work truly has become global. So between 2016 and 2020, I was teaching Sacred Soul Alignment. I was creating healing programs using these tools. And I became aware of something else that was in my field. I saw them as symbols in my energy field. And I received the information in meditation that I was holding at that time 55 symbols in my field. In really beginning to work with these and explore what they were, I realized that they are quantum spiritual technologies, and I called them Sacred Soul symbols. It was the natural name after Sacred Soul alignments, really to keep everything cohesive. So for the next 3 years, I began just receiving awareness of each different symbol and working with them, discovering what they did. I would use them with clients. I would use them in group programs. And I finally became ready to teach this modality for the first time with 44 symbols And this modality is really unique because it comes with something tangible. I created a card deck for the symbols that the students receive, and they're a physical, tangible way to work with these quantum spiritual technologies. I have taught this certification twice now, and I have about 150 certified practitioners for Sacred Soul Symbols. I have now received, finally, all 55 symbols, which will be passed on the next time I teach, which is looking like in January of 2026. So currently, I am working with these three modalities. Sacred Light Modality, under really the umbrella of co-creating miracles with sacred light, that I have created with my best friend, Kimberlie Carlson. And we're going to be talking about that more in my next episode when I bring her on as a guest. And then, of course, Sacred Soul Alignment and Sacred Soul Symbols. And this has truly been a journey. Everything that I discovered, from all the way back to going to the library, checking out all those books back in 2010, 2011, all the different healing modalities that I learned and that I taught, and then really seeking something that was more connected to my soul, is what allowed these modalities to open up for me. And all the while I was receiving and creating these healing modalities and using them with clients, with private clients, in healing programs and in the certification trainings, I wasn't just using them with other people. I was using them to transform my own life, and truly, really have transformed every aspect of my life. From my financial life, I was struggling to survive, just to get by, living on Social Security survivor benefits, which I'm very grateful that I received, but it was barely making ends meet. I couldn't hardly even afford to buy a book. It took me a year to save $500 to attend my first theta healing class. I was barely surviving. So I've gone from that to creating a business that supports me in every way that I could imagine. A business where I am so grateful to say that makes multiple six figures a year. So my financial picture has completely transformed. And back in 2010, 2011, 2012, I did not believe that that was remotely possible. My first ever goal financially for my business was to make $1,000 a month in doing this healing work. And I did that in the very first month that I opened my doors for clients. And the very first 6 months, that doubled, and it kept doubling. And I was really, really supported along the way. I worked very hard to create that, and I was fully dedicated to doing whatever it took to transform every aspect of my life using these tools that I created. And between the years of 2020 and 2022, I released 50 pounds. Those years of being in an abusive marriage and the stress of everything that transpired really caused my body to hold on to a lot of extra weight. And as I began using the tools that I created and being aware of how I was treating my body, that weight began to fall off. And it has continued to stay off for the last 3 years. I take care of my body. I feed myself healthy foods. I prioritize my health. But I didn't do this through crazy exercise or crazy dieting. It really was a matter of addressing the root causes of why I was holding on to weight, which was the trauma, the stress, the emotions, the belief programming, and also what that did to my cortisol levels, to my body's ability to detox. And I really give credit to the tools that I have used as the primary thing that helped me unlock that ability to drop, and also more importantly, keep off that amount of weight. And I'm also thrilled to say that I have been able to completely transform my relationship patterns. So, as you know, I spent 20 years in an abusive, toxic relationship that created a lot of damage that took me a while to unwind. And I have co-created a beautiful, loving, supportive relationship. We've been together for 4 years, and just 2 months ago, we moved together to Hawaii, which is a dream that I never imagined that I would get to return to. So I can honestly say that 15 years ago, I felt like I was living in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. And now my life truly feels like a dream. And that is what I want for you as well. No matter what part of your life feels like you're living in a nightmare, or it's just uncomfortable and it's not exactly what you want to experience, I want you to be able to have that level of tangible transformation in your own life. And I know it's possible, and I'm here to bear witness to that and to inspire you and encourage you that you can do the same. I have to say that the thing that I am most happy about and proud of is that all 3 of my daughters are adults now, and they are all thriving. And they're thriving in their own individual ways. Now, did I stumble as a parent along the way? Absolutely, I did. I was trying to find my way through impossible circumstances and doing my best, but I made a lot of mistakes along the way. But truly, love is the common thread. And the 4 of us are such a tight-knit group. We went through so much together, and there's an enormous amount of love between us. Through this work, I was able to break the generational trauma and really curses that were handed down to me that would have been handed down to them. I've taught them that they deserve happiness and that they get to decide for themselves what their life looks like. And truly, that's the transformation that I am the most proud of. So here's what you can expect in the Sacred Hour podcast. Every other episode, I will have an expert guest on. We will talk about things from spiritual healing and different modalities, different processes, things that you can implement in your life immediately. We will talk about health, physical health, emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, metabolic health. We'll talk about creating conscious relationships, creating a soul-aligned business, because that's a big part of my life and what I do. I look forward to some particular expert guests that I'm going to have on talking about business as well. We'll talk about luminous beauty. I was a hairdresser for 20 years before I did this work, and that's a big passion of mine. I love fashion. I love skincare. I love all of that stuff, and I'm going to bring that to you in some of these episodes as well. We'll talk about reclaiming your inherent worth and tools for manifestation and creating the life that you dream of having, no matter where you are in this moment. I've spent the last decade walking alongside thousands of women who are on their healing and transformation journey, just like you. I've created tools for pretty much every single aspect of life. I will be sharing practices, healing, and wisdom that will support you on your journey of healing. And this is real transformation. This isn't just feel good in the moment and then dive back down into hopelessness and despair. These are tools and practices that will help you in your everyday life and help you elevate into the person that you were really meant to be, the person that you came here to be. In my next episode, I am thrilled to be having as a guest my best friend since high school and business partner, Kimberlie Carlson. We're going to talk about co-creating miracles in your life. So I hope that you join me for that. And please subscribe to this podcast so that you will easily be able to find every single episode and continue your journey of transformation. And now, as I promised, every single episode is going to end with a healing meditation or a practice that you can implement in your life. Today, I'm offering you a short healing meditation to support you in giving yourself permission to take the time to heal and transform your life, to remember who you are, and to rise up into who you were born to be. So wherever you are, I invite you to just take a moment and get comfortable. If you're driving, please pause and come back after you're not driving. And just close your eyes with me. Drop down into your heart. Taking a moment to connect in with your heart. Allowing your breath to slow and deepen. Feeling the connection between your heart and the heart of Gaia, our earth home. And the connection between your heart and the heart of creation, or pure source energy. Good, and just allowing your body to relax even more, really bringing all of your awareness into the present moment. And just continue that long, slow, deep breath. I'm going to call in some of my tools here in Divine Love and Light, calling in Sacred Light Open. And this helps to open your energy field. It also opens your soul records, your Akashic records, so this healing can go deeper. By listening, you're giving permission for that to happen. Good. Now, I'm going to bring in a couple of sacred soul alignments. In Divine Love and Light, calling advance with ease and joy. This alignment helps you embrace growth without pain, as it clears the limiting beliefs and programs that tell you that growth is painful, that it requires struggle or sacrifice, clearing the need to suppress emotions, clearing imprints of trauma and heartbreak, dissolving the beliefs that you deserve punishment or suffering, clearing the fear of taking action, dissolving the beliefs that you need pain as a source of connection, dissolving beliefs around sacrifice and self-sabotage, allowing you to embrace happiness, joy, peace, success, and fulfillment, and allowing you to embrace your growth with confidence, ease, and joy to fully step into your highest potential. Now, Divine Love and Light, calling in divine recognition and clarity. These energies are vital for our happiness, well-being, and spiritual growth, as they grant us the ability to discern what is truly in our highest good. This alignment helps to unlock the wisdom of your higher self, to intuitively recognize what is in your best interest, guided by the wisdom of your own divinity. Calling in the alignment, love yourself fully. This alignment is helping dissolve the deep-seated beliefs of unworthiness, fear, and self-doubt that cause you to feel unloved, unsafe, or powerless, dissolving guilt, shame, and fear of intimacy, releasing feelings of isolation, resentment, and the burden of carrying others' pain. This alignment is also installing empowering beliefs that reconnect you with your true worth. Ultimately, this alignment restores you to a state of allowing you to fully recognize and live as your divine self. Now I'm going to activate 4 sacred soul symbols. Divine love and light, activating the remembrance symbol. And if you open your eyes, you can see that on the screen, allowing that to activate in your energy field. Remembering who you are, who you were born to be. And divine love and light, activating the rise symbol, supporting you to rise up into that highest version of you. And to ground and anchor all of this in, all of the healing in that you've received here. Divine love and light, activating the ground symbol and the anchor symbol. Divine love and light, creative, change it. Anchoring all of this in into every cell of your body and every aspect of your life. Just taking a moment to integrate this healing, allowing it to land fully in your body. When you're ready, if your eyes are closed, you can open your eyes. Thank you for being here. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love. Bye for now.